The lesson to you through Connor's example is that I don't believe his mind, his spirit, and his body were in alignment in the right direction, all in unity. So there was like a fear factor that he would put into people. But then he comes out, finds God, which is wonderful, but then he wants to try to portray himself as the old psychotic fighter. And so his body was not responding, I would guess, during his whole training camp to who he used to be. If you're not in alignment, you won't have the zest, you won't have the fire, you won't have the, hey, I got to wake up at 4 a.m. to go after it, or I won't stay up late working 20 hours to get after it. Won't happen because you're not in alignment. So if your mind is evolving, your body and spirituality also have to evolve. Anything that's evolving, if you're physically evolving, your mind and your spirit have to catch up with that. Yo, what's up, everybody? This is the N2N podcast, and I'm your host, Dr. N2N, also known as Ninja Prolific Ninja by my family and friends. And because my fans and my friends, you can call me Ninja 2. This is the N2N podcast, the alpha to the omega, the beginning, the end, time of life, motivation, drive, success, self-improvement, and offering you morsels in this all-you-can-eat buffet called life. Back in the studio. It's a rainy day today, kind of weird. Flood forecast, bringing in National Guard, all this crazy shit out of Texas. But we are in the studios bringing another great episode to you. But if you're new to the show, or if you've been listening for a while, I'm a physician, lawyer, business guy, have had a law firm for now almost a quarter century, helping thousands of people, changing lives, investor in several tech-related projects, consumer CPG products, bringing them out to you. In fact, we are about to launch a soft launch on a drink called Cosmic with a K, K-O-S-M-I-K. And can't wait to talk about that and bring it to you. But if you're new to the show, I always start my show as I start my day, which is every time I wake up in the morning. Eyes open up, get the cobwebs out of my head. I thank God and the universe for another day, another opportunity to be great, and hopefully inspire just one person to live to their fullest controllable potential, because there are a lot of things outside of our control, but the stuff that we can control, we want to live to our fullest potential, and hopefully that's you, inspiring you today. So with that, I want to thank everybody, all the fans, supporters, everybody that's been supporting the show. It's kind of crazy because I'll go to these events and out of nowhere, people are like, hey, I love your podcast. I don't even know that they listen to it, but it's just kind of wild. Not that I'm a celebrity or anything like that, but just I'm glad to hear that the message is getting out there. So with that, I want to thank all my fans for supporting the show now for almost over 4 years. And if you're new to the show, I present the show for free. It's on my own dime, on my own time, pay the team, pay production, do all this stuff to get this out to you. And so we do this on what's called a karmic balance. I'm a metaphysical karmic guy. Actually, we're going to talk about that today. Karmic guy. And so if I'm giving this to you for free, theoretically, you owe me something. Or if you learn or you get value out of this or any other episode, theoretically, you owe me. But I don't want your debt. I want your support. And so to restore that balance, all you got to do is share the show. It's called a fee, whatever you want to call it. Our expression here is if your knowledge swole, share the show. That's how we grow, and that's all you got to do. Or else, support all the projects that I'm working on, West Loop Law, Cure Connector, MyMedi, M-Y-M-E-D-D-I. That's an AI medication management platform. Naya, N-A-Y-A-A. That's an AI management program for your cell phone contacts. Amazing. Other things coming out very, very soon. 1925 Tequila. If you're in Austin Sports Club. All these things I'm involved with. So please support these things or share the show. That's how we grow and restore the karmic balance. So big thing this weekend was a UFC fight, which happened to have Conor McGregor's comeback. Now, I don't want to make this about sports and athletics, but there are real-life lessons here related to what happened to Conor McGregor. I'm a fan. I'm an MMA fan. And by no means am I critiquing or criticizing in any way what any athlete, pro athlete has done. I've never been in those shoes, never had these experiences, but I know what it's like to be an athlete, and I know what it's like to compete at some, reasonably high levels. So, if you don't know, Conor McGregor was on a comeback, 5-year layoff from his last loss. He's had a series of losses over the last few fights. He broke his leg against Dustin Poirier, 5 years back. recovery, got into whiskey, proper 12, all these things, mega success, mega superstardom success. And this last weekend was his comeback fight, right? Leading up to it, looking in shape, training, hyping it up, of course. And then within the first, 15, 20 seconds of the fight, the bell rings, the fighters come out, and he does this wild jumping switch kick and then blows out his knee. So the fight was over almost right after it started. And so a lot has been going around, and he was fighting Max Holloway, blessed Max Holloway, who is also super skilled fighter. But the difference is that he's been fighting over the last 5 years. So he's tuned in, dialed in, not a lot of ring rust. Obviously, Conor McGregor, 5 years off, comes back, mega fight, super fight. Not for a title or anything, but just the history of the two warriors, and goes out and blows his knee. Unfortunate situation. I understand, at the timing of this recording, which is on Tuesday, he had surgery, speedy recovery, all the best wishes. You hate to see people hurt. And so, whether you like him or not, health is health, and you hate seeing people hurt. But he blew out his knee. And a lot of commentary about why, how, was he ready, was he not, should he have gone, was he hurt before getting to the ring, all these things. And we don't know, I don't know, no one, not being in his camp, we don't know these things. All I'm conjecturing is, how does the lesson of that, what lessons can we learn from that situation and translate it into what this podcast is about, which is inspiring people to live their fullest controllable potential, you particularly. So in my view, there are several things related to why this could have happened. It shouldn't have happened. It was a huge letdown. I mean, I drove a long-ass way, met up with my friends. Argentina was playing, Switzerland at the time, World Cup. Both things were happening at the same time. It was the soccer extra time. Argentina scores 2 goals in extra time at the same time as Conor McGregor's walking out to the fight. Has nothing to do with one another. It was just, all this excitement about the World Cup, and then we go to this fight, and then it's over in before it began. So let's think about this from a pure combat sports standpoint. And again, I don't know how much of this is factual, but the flying switch kick, production note, make sure you show a snippet of the fight. The flying switch kick that he did out the gate. A lot of people were like, man, 5 years off, that's a super high-risk maneuver. If you don't know what a flying switch kick is that you look at your opponent, you come up and you throw one, it's like you're jumping off one leg, and while, let's say I'm jumping off my left leg, and while my right leg is in the air, I bring my left leg up and try to do like a roundhouse. So it's like a switch kick, and then you land on your right leg, and then you get back in your fighting stance, and that's the leg that blew out was Conor's right leg. So he throws a flying, jumping switch kick where, right leg goes up, left leg is, planted, and he jumps off the left leg before the right leg comes down and tries to do a roundhouse kick. Okay? Why do such a high-risk maneuver post-injury where that ACL's been torn before, as I understand, all this stuff, ring rust, 5 years off, body's not there, whatever. Crazy move. I would not have advised that coming out the gate, 5-year layoff. However, apparently this was part of the game plan because there's been training videos of him doing this exact move. Flying switch kick, jumping switch kick, jumping switch kick. In fact, there was a video of him in the warm-up room doing that same move prior to the fight, which showed he had a pretty decent knee. So theoretically, he wasn't injured. But then there's videos of him walking to the ring, and as he's taking his shoes off, he's hobbling on that knee. So who knows? Who knows, right? The reason I tell you this is, one, I think in this scenario, they failed to practice game theory. And I'll elaborate on this. They failed to practice game theory. And game theory means if you're in combat, if you're in competition, if I do X, A, I anticipate that they're going to do X, so therefore I need to readjust and do B, but they might anticipate that, so they might do Y, but then so if they do anticipate Y, then I'm going to use my backup plan and do C, and if they think about that, they're going to do, so you're just playing out scenarios for the proper move to make right now. Okay, you're playing scenarios. If I do this, they are going to do that. If they think I'm going to do this, they might do something different. So then what if they do that, then I got to do something different. So it's just going back and forth in your mind before you decide to make a move. That's game theory. And you're trying to choose the most probable move and then strategy and go in that direction. In this situation, if you look at all the training videos, Conor does the switch kick. He's practicing the switch kick, but his trainer is holding the pads stationary. So you jump up. So in the practice, he jumps up and lands straight down and makes contact with his trainer's mat. Bam, pop, 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 right? Trainer's stationary. Where he failed to game theory, and this is translatable to your life and success and opportunity, is that in the actual fight, he comes out as the game plan was designed, allegedly, to throw the switch kick. But as he throws the switch kick, as the right leg moves up, his opponent, Max Holloway, moves to Conor's left. So Max slides to his right to avoid the kick because he sees him throwing the switch kick. Max is a top-tier level fighter. So he slides to his left. And so you will see, like, in a split second, because I'm a black belt in Taekwondo, so I understand this, right? You see that Conor's like, holy shit, Max is moving to my left. And so then instead of kicking his left foot forward as in practice, like a switch kick straight forward, he throws the right leg forward and he tries to angle the left leg to his left where Max Holloway is sliding. So he jumps up and tries to readjust midair. So if his left leg does not come all the way through, as in practice, through to his right, and in practice he would land straight down, because he swings it further left, there's more of a torsion in his body, and as his knee lands, there's torque on the knee, and that's what blows his knee out. And on top of that, Max didn't just slide to his left, Max slid to his right and back. So if I was a compass, he slid to like his south east, right? So that also, so not only did Conor have to readjust the contact point, but he had to reach further with his hips to try to touch Max, because Max is going left and away relative to Conor's perspective. And so he extends himself even further, creating more distance between his right leg and his left leg, and therefore twisting the knee. Okay? That's what I think happened on his knee, is that in practice, he's practicing a target right in front of him, stationary, trying to create force, pop, 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 pop. But then in the real fight, they did not anticipate, and I don't know why, this is all allegedly. I don't know what went on in the planning in the camp, but they, I would suspect, did not have the conversation of, well, what if Max slides to his right or his left or backs away? That caused Conor, or maybe they did, but in the fight scenario with the adrenaline going and all the lights in the crowd and maybe Conor just overreached and he thrusted his hips out forward left to try to catch Max, and therefore left the right leg in a compromised position and twisted his knee. Who knows what kind of internal injury. Hopefully not too serious, but it seems like a torn ACL or something like that, meniscus. So that's the physical reason why I think the knee blew out. And again, I wish him a speedy recovery. The translation here is that they did not game theory all reactions from Max in order to decide if this was the right move or not, right? I've seen a credit to, I forget who, but there was some commentaries like he always throws the kick in order to measure distance and disrupt timing right out the gate. Probably so. But was this the kick? Maybe not. Maybe like just a side kick or a spinning back kick instead of a high-risk jump off. Whenever you're in the air fighting with 2 feet off the ground, high risk. And this was a high-risk deal, right? That's the physical component. Now, the mental component also was a factor in my mind. You see, if you know MMA and you know Conor's history, he's like superstardom really fast. Like he was like a madman. It's like a crazy Irishman. His heritage is Irish. Like the vibe, and he would call fights and knock people the fuck out. Like, great fighter. But that was the old Connor. That was the early Connor, right? Then he got into, won all of his championships, lost a few fights, several injuries, got into, Proper 12, his whiskey, was in that for 5 years, and then became religious, found God or Jesus, which if that's your thing, I applaud you for that. But then he finds Jesus, and he's tweeting all of these things, religious, spirituality, all this stuff, and then he signs the fight and comes back. That's incongruent. It's a disconnect. Psychologically, spiritually, like there's a medical term called psychosomatic, where like your brain actually causes your injuries, like things going on inside your brain and your emotions and all that. There's nothing physically wrong with you, but it manifests physically when things are not in balance and harmony, right? That's why that's metaphysical to me. That's like why I try to say karmic balance, because when things are off, you might manifest it physically, right? So here he is. His whole success was the idea of being kind of a unpredictable, crazy fighter, madman, just wild out there, but knocking people the fuck out, right? But now he finds God or spirituality, and then he comes back and tries to be what? The old Conor McGregor, what people expected him to be. And so you can see how there's a misalignment in his body. Back then, he psychologically, he was the crazy Irishman, and he fought like a crazy Irishman. He didn't give a fuck. He didn't care. He would just throw shit out, insult people, just, whether it was showmanship or not. It was the crazy mentality, the psychotic mentality, translated into unpredictable psychotic fight. So there was like a fear factor that he would put into people. But then he comes out, finds God, which is wonderful, but then he wants to try to portray himself as the old psychotic fighter. And so his body was not responding, I would guess, during his whole training camp to who he used to be. It was like, hey, man, you're a different person now, but you want me to be the old guy, the old fighter. And so his body is not matching what his intent and in his mind is. What I would have suggested in his camp was, hey, you're trying to become a new person. Why not evolve into a new fighter? Why not evolve into a new type of fighter? Because you're trying to live this composed spiritual life now, but you got to go out there and try to meet people's expectations of that psychotic fighter back early in your career. And it doesn't translate that. Now, almost a decade later, your body is not the same. So you can't be that old psychotic fighter in your current form, physically and mentally, but yet you're trying to come out and fight like the old guy. You see how disjointed that sounds? Versus, hey, you're trying to be this new spiritual guy. Let's try to evolve and become a new type of fighter. Right? Then your body during training camp is congruent. It's all in alignment with your thought process, your spirituality. Everything is in alignment, and then your body adjusts to that. You saw when he walked out, he's really tight, just didn't seem right. Right? Usually he's coming out like, pepped up, hyping the crowd up, Irish flag, all this stuff. The crazy Irishman. He comes out there trying to be the new composed Conor, but try to fight like a crazy Irishman. It doesn't work. And so the message here translated to what this podcast is about is you have to evolve. I talk about evolution all the time. You have to evolve not by other people's expectations, but about who you are and who you are becoming. Here, he was trying to become someone else, personally, spiritually, mentally, but he's trying to fight like the old fighter that everyone expected him to be. And it doesn't work that way. And so when your body is all disjointed, it's tense. And maybe that tenseness also contributed to the knee, right? If your body is not limber and flexible and your cartilage is tense, your muscles tense, your nervous system is tense, your fascia is tense, that causes tightness. And so when you're trying to high risk maneuver with a lot of, angles and force and moving components, and you're tight, that leads to injury. So here in this instance, again, he was trying to be someone new, but trying to fight like old. And when that, your body is confused, you're like, well, wait a minute. Your mind is telling me we should do something new, but you're commanding your body to do something old. It doesn't make sense. I would have coached him into maybe add a new style of fighting instead of just being out there reckless and, the way he used to fight. It wasn't reckless, it was measured, but it was more wild. But if you're trying to say, hey man, I'm trying to compose my life, well, let me become more composed as a fighter. Right? Again, this is all conjecture. This is not a criticism, not a critique, more of an evaluation. I wasn't in the ring. I've never been in a ring like that. I've never been on a stage like that. Never been through a camp like that. I do know that I've competed in my youth as a black belt in Taekwondo, competitive in other sports, with an intent to hurt people. Okay? So I understand this to a degree, and I don't know it fully like these guys, but I understand the metaphysics of being a fighter, the meditative aspects, the spirituality of it, the knowing that you have, in the words of Liam Neeson, you have a certain set of skills, and what that means, and the importance of that, and the gravity of it. I understand that, and I understand the connection between your mind, your heart, your spirit, and your body, the physical realm. I call it the Holy Trinity, actually. Not the one that they teach in the Bible. It's an allegory. There's actually an episode about that. But if you're not in alignment, you cannot do these great things. And that's the lesson to you. The lesson to you through Connor's example is that I don't believe his mind, his spirit, and his body were in alignment in the right direction, all in unity, all in unison. Right? Who knows what old age, or he's 37, which is not old fighting. It's older, but, you're kind of still in the range of your peak fighting years. I don't know if that had to do with it, body wear and tear, 5 years selling alcohol, doing whatever, God knows whatever he's doing in that arena of selling alcohol, inflammation, any other drugs or prescriptions he's on. I have no idea. All of which could be contributing factors. But in this instance, just from a pure alignment, I don't think his body was aligned, leading to more tightness, more stiffness, less durability, and unfortunately, he had a catastrophic injury. And it's sad to see that, right? Whether or not this is his last hoorah or he can recover, I hope he has a speedy recovery. And this is not a podcast about Connor. This is about a podcast about how what happened to him is an example for your life. So one, you got to practice game theory strategically, right? If you're in a business, if you're in sales, whatever the scenario, you're going into a scenario where there's a binary outcome, win or lose, make the sale or not make the sale, close the deal or not close the deal. Whatever it is, when there's a definitive outcome, you must understand game theory. Well, if I say this, they might think this, and they might react like this, and therefore they may say this. And if they say this, I'm going to say that, and then they're going to get a reaction, and then I'm going to get a reaction, and I'm going to say, you play all the scenarios in your mind. Role play. A lot of great salespeople, a lot of great attorneys, we rehearse a lot. We role play a lot because that's the whole game theory. If I say it this way with this tone, what does it sound like? If I say it softer and use these words instead, what does it sound like? What's the interpretation and what's the feeling? What's the mood of how I say things and what I say? Same thing here. How I throw this kick, what's the move? If I throw this punch, what's the counter punch? And what's my reaction and it's all that. Very complicated stuff. But you must do it in the arena of goals and success. It's not just work hard, let me plow through it like a bull in a china shop. It doesn't work like that. Some subtlety to it. It takes the energy of that, but not the strategy of that. Okay? And then the second thing is you must fully be in alignment. The whole alignment thing is like Tiger Woods. Tiger Woods was Tiger Woods was a beast in golf. Like early before he had that situation where where he got his divorce and his wife took a 9-iron to his mouth and busted some teeth out because of his messing around, right? But here's the thing: is he was a beast, on track to be the best golfer in the history of golf. Some say he is, and some say he still hasn't beaten Jack Nicklaus's major win total. So he's not. He was on track to do that until that situation happened. Now, if I were his coach, I would have said, hey, fuck what the people think and all the sponsorship you lose. You were that way. The way you were got you to where you were. So don't change the plan. If you want the goal of being the best ever, you got to stick with what works, regardless of how bad it is, how bad it looks, how bad things happen. Winning cures everything. And just let him continue on being Tiger Woods until it didn't matter anymore. But if you notice history, he went out and did the apology tour. And after that, he didn't win shit. Hasn't won much. Because what brought him to the success was the beast Tiger Woods. But then he got domesticated Tiger Woods apologizing for fucking up, which he did fuck up. But in the world of sports, I'm not talking about moral world. I'm talking about the world of sports and competition. He went out on an apology tour and then faded away because he wasn't, his mind and spirit were not aligned with his physicality of what got him to where he was. And then he ended up having like 3 or 4 leg surgeries and back surgeries, and now he's on pain pills, flipping his Land Rover over, like crazy ass shit. All these injuries came after he did the apology tour because, again, his mind, his heart, his spirit, and body were not in alignment. And that's the same with you. If you're not in alignment, you won't have the zest, you won't have the fire, you won't have the, hey, I got to wake up at 4 a.m. to go after it, or I won't stay up late working 20 hours to get after it. Won't happen because you're not in alignment. So the lessons here, unfortunately for Connor, is game theory, got to be in alignment. That's it. So those are the things to focus on your pathway to success. Evolution. Oh, yeah. Got it. So, and then the last point, which I'll game theory. So the things for you, game theory, everything in alignment, and in the last point I made earlier, you got to evolve. You got to evolve. If you're looking to change anything about you, you must evolve. You can't mentally evolve, but physically not. You can't physically evolve and mentally not. Everything it's part of alignment. You got to evolve into that person. Again, Connor was trying to evolve, but his fight style stayed the same. Again, you can't. It's kind of stretching and pulling away from another, kind of like his knee. So if your mind is evolving, your body and spirituality also have to evolve. Anything that's evolving, if you're physically evolving, your mind and your spirit have to catch up with that. If you're younger, like athlete, like my son is an athlete, his body is now really physically evolving. And so now his mentality and his spirituality have to evolve with his body. So it's kind of reversed as you get older. Your mind and your spirit evolve, but your body doesn't. So you got to pull it along, create the habits to evolve. So if you want to be successful for you, whatever you define it, your plan, your path, game theory, alignment, and evolve. And so with that, hopefully the second half of the year is going to be exactly the way you want to evolve it to be. You game theory it out, you figure it out, and then you get yourself in alignment to push through the second half of the year. So with that, hopefully you were inspired today by my message. Speedy recovery to Conor McGregor. Hopefully we see him back in the ring again. Whatever his path is, that's his path. But, as fans of the sport, certainly support it. But as fans of just being human and not seeing people hurt, fully support the recovery as well. So with that, I end the podcast as the end of the day. And if you're new to the show, if you know, before I close my eyes and I put my head on the pillow, close my eyes and drift off to Never Never Land, I always thank God in the universe for another day to have been great. Hopefully inspire one person, just one, to live to their fullest controllable potential And if that's you today, I'm thankful for that. And if it is you today, on this show or any other show, like I say, if you're not a swole, share the show. That's how we grow. That's how we restore this karmic balance that always inevitably occurs. Everything always balances out. So with that, be great today, but be even more grateful. And I'll look forward to bringing up the episode next week.